Longhorn Nation, Sooner fans, welcome to episode 157 of the Bevo Podcast, the only podcast exclusively dedicated to covering the greatest rivalry in college football, the University of Oklahoma and the University of Texas. I'm here with my man, Kevin Miller. I am John Whitson. Kevin, the bulk of this show will be dedicated to the University of Texas. They finished second in the SEC. They are the fifth seed in the college football playoff. Insult to injury, they just signed Justice Terry, the five-star defensive lineman out of Georgia, to put a cherry on the already number one recruiting class in the country. Just some quick tidbits from OU before we dive into the SEC championship game and the college football playoff. It's transfer portal season. The portal opens today. It's Monday morning. Oklahoma has already lost Nick Anderson, Bauer Sharp, Jackson Arnold, Caleb Hicks, Jaquiz Petaway, some other lower named individuals that we don't have to necessarily go into. Anything there surprise you?
Well, not really. It's kind of disappointing, I'm sure, for OU fans to see some of these names on there. Jaquiz Petaway, I know you had high hopes for him, and I had high expectations for him with his talent. Jackson Arnold, anytime a guy who started games at quarterback for you hits the portal, that's always a little bit of a surprise. Yeah, for sure. I mean, this is a five-star guy, right? I know he had his troubles on the field this year, but anytime you lose somebody with that kind of talent, it just doesn't feel good, I'm sure, for Sooner fans. And, of course, Nick Anderson. I mean, this guy, you guys were touting him as a potential All-American type this year. 10 touchdowns as a redshirt freshman last year, and just never got going with that injury. Seemed like he was back, came in for the Tennessee game for one series, and that was it. And then now he's gone. So, I mean, that has to hurt, right? I mean, a guy with that kind of pedigree, a legacy with his brother. What are you feeling on that?
Well, it's what I said a week ago or 2 weeks ago on this show, is there will nothing on the offensive side of the ball is going to be a major disappointment to me because we were simply so bad. It was bad. So Jackson Arnold, 5-star, Elite 11 MVP, all the talent in the world. I can't unsee some of those fumbles he had. Flip side, I don't think he was given a fair shot. I think he had a patched up offensive line and zero receivers to throw to. It just doesn't sound like it was going to work for him. And that sucks. I'm not surprised by it. Jaquiz Petaway, dude, I wanted this guy to be good. You thought this guy was good. But let's face it, when he got into the game, I mean, this was the year to get your shot. There were no other receivers. He did nothing. In fact, he had drops. You can't have drops. You put the Jacob Jordan kid in, the walk-on out of Houston. The kid did not drop the ball. He caught the ball. Now,
no.
He didn't turn it upside down in terms, he wasn't the next, Xavier Worthy or something. But that didn't matter. He was at least a consistent player.
At least reliable, yeah.
You got none of that from Petaway. And I think you could agree. You got none of that.
Oh, now, of course. Yeah, just disappointing. It has to be just disappointing.
Just disappointing. But so to lose that, Caleb Hicks, listen, I question the running back room. And I've been vocal about this pretty much the duration of this season and highlighted by the success Xavier Robinson had against Missouri and Alabama. Is DeMarco Murray the best evaluator of talent? He's a great recruiter. He has filled that room with some names, okay? But is he the best developer and evaluator of talent? I'm still not sure. Is Caleb Hicks a victim of that? We'll find out if he goes somewhere else and has a Tawee Walker kind of season somewhere. I don't know. Nick Anderson is the most understandable transfer and the one that hurts the most, right? You look at this list, he's the most talented person on this list. He's also the most proven person when healthy on the list. However, understandably, it sounds like there was major issues with him and the medical staff. Some Sooner fans take it to the extreme of malpractice. I don't. I think that as an adult, unfortunately, you're looking at a situation where these are not kids anymore. They're paid athletes. If you're not happy with the diagnosis you get, you go get a second opinion. I'm telling this to every kid that's on that team. If something doesn't feel right to you, you and your trusted advisors need to go get a second opinion ASAP. That's just, I'm not washing away any culpability of the OU medical staff. If they screwed up, they need to take responsibility for it. I think they might need even to be brought to account. But for Nick in particular, go get a second opinion. If something doesn't feel right, go get a second opinion. And again, I don't know the side of the story. I have no idea. It sucks to lose Nick Anderson. Not surprising. Hopefully he gets a fresh start. All that to be said, Oklahoma, the portal opens today. Targets are clearly tight end, wide receiver, running back, continue to supplement the offensive line, and the ever-elusive defensive line targets. Every school in the country would take another defensive lineman. We know that. So
you gotta find at least one quarterback, if not two, right?
Well,
if you're not getting Mateer.
That's exactly right. So if Mateer is our guy, I'm okay with that. I think he's less talented than Jackson Arnold. I don't think his ceiling's as high as Jackson Arnold, but he's a proven football player. If we'd have had a guy like him, you don't know what you anticipate a couple more wins on the schedule than what we had last year.
Right.
Everybody laments the loss of Dylan Gabriel. Dylan Gabriel, I don't think is good enough to get us into the playoff with as bad as our receiving core was and as bad as the offensive scheme was coming out of South Carolina. I think you still have losses to Texas. I think you still have losses to South Carolina. I think you probably still have a loss to Ole Miss. And we've seen 3 losses didn't get you in the playoff. So I don't know that it matters.
Yeah.
I will say this,
it's not as bad as it was, but it's better than it ended up, for sure.
You mean it could have been better?
Yeah, it would have been better. Yeah. But, you still probably wouldn't have made the playoff with everything else that went on.
Side note, I put this on Twitter yesterday. I put a picture of this on Twitter yesterday. I was at Dick's Sporting Goods last night buying some Christmas gifts. They had a Yeti with Dylan Gabriel on it, in an Oklahoma jersey, and him holding the number 1 up.
Oh man, yeah.
It wasn't even
some kind of way.
It wasn't even on sale, bro. It wasn't on clearance. It was still $31.99.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that hurt a little bit. I'm not gonna lie, that hurt a little bit.
That would hurt me too, man. If I was a Sooner fan.
We're gonna talk
real quick before we move on.
Yeah, go ahead. Hey, we can talk more.
Bauer Sharp. I mean, polarizing with fans.
He wasn't any good, Kevin. Stop.
I'm saying. I'm asking what you think. He was your leading receiver this year. I'm just
which
saying.
Is an indictment of how bad our receiving core was. Period. He was simply the tallest midget. No offense to midgets. That's all it was. Kevin, he could not block. He made bad decisions when he got the ball. His catches down the field, okay, sure, great. It's all we had.
And unfortunate for him is you didn't bring him in expecting with the expectation of him being your leading receiver. He's just supposed to be another weapon. It's like, okay, we got all these receivers here. If we're doubling up on Nick Anderson and Deion Burks, hey, we've got this athletic guy from Southeast Louisiana that could potentially make a play when you're doubling up all these other guys. You bring him in, everybody gets hurt, and now he gets elevated to a position that he was not prepared to be in.
Kevin, you're 100% right. As a it's like my daughter. This is a great example of what you're saying. It's like my daughter. My daughter plays basketball, 8th grade girls basketball. Okay? She is the best player on her team. Period. The team is absolutely awful. Absolutely awful. They're terrible, Kevin. They are so bad. So to say my daughter is the best player on the team simply means she can dribble up and down the court without dribbling it off her foot. I mean, that's what we're talking about with Bauer Sharp. He's the kid that is the best player on an absolutely terrible team. Is that his fault? Is it my daughter's fault? No, absolutely not. My daughter would be a really nice point guard if she had a shooting guard and a post and somebody to pass to. You know what I'm saying? Like, she would be a nice complementary player on a good basketball team. She can't carry the team. Bauer Sharp couldn't carry the receiving core. He just didn't have it in him. Now, it's the same thing with Jackson Arnold. Is it an indictment on the Oklahoma coaching staff? Did they not put him in positions to succeed? Were jet sweeps to Bauer Sharp the best way to utilize his talents? Of course not. And we know this, and we know all the things that go around it. My earlier point is no surprises on the offensive side of the ball. All I want as an OU fan offensively is to keep the offensive line. And I'm not saying they're all Kelvin Bankses, right? But let's just get some continuity. Let's build something on the offensive line. Skill positions, dude, go build them in the portal. Just go build them in the portal. I don't care. Let's go see what we can get.
Yeah,
and I hope we get some.
You don't want to build your offensive line in the portal.
I don't want to build it.
You've seen it. You've seen it.
We've seen it
before.
It didn't look good in 22. It was patched together in 23 with some good plays.
Good tackles though. Yeah,
we had good tackles, but still,
and the freshman Caden Green in there, who did a good job.
100%. So anyway, here's the deal. The Boomer Bevo Podcast. We will keep you up to date on portal additions, portal takeaways in both Texas and Oklahoma. Texas lost maybe one player, but they're in the playoff. All right, let's transition. Thank you, Texas fan, for being patient. The rest of it's all about you. All right. Georgia beats Texas, Kevin, 22-19. We've had a couple days to process this. Georgia, I think, had like 50 yards of total offense in the first half. You guys had like 250 yards of total offense in the first half. I think the score at halftime was like 6-3 or 9-3 or something.
6-3.
Twitter is divided for Texas fan on the performance of Quinn Ewers, whether he was the reason you lost the game or he was the reason you were even in the game. As a neutral observer, I have always been hard on Quinn. I do not think he is an elite talent. I think he is a good college football quarterback. That's where I've stood now for about 3 years. And that's fine. That's good enough to win. We've seen it in Georgia and Alabama and even Michigan. A good college quarterback can win you a national championship. But I still don't think he's elite. That being said, he is not the reason you lost this football game.
No, he was not.
You could not run the ball. You had Trey Weisner had 51 yards with Quinn's sacks. You had a total team rushing number of 31 rushing yards. You cannot expect for your tailback to have 51 rushing yards and win a football game. You can't expect it. And I don't know how Texas fan can sit there and be mad at Quinn. You could be mad. I don't know who you're mad at. If you're mad at Sark for not running the ball, if you're mad at the offensive line for not blocking, you tell me who you should be mad at. But I don't think Quinn is at the top of the list. He had 2 interceptions, but neither one of those led to turnovers. I mean, neither one of those turnovers led to points. So, as an outside observer, I watch that game and I say, you can't run the ball, you don't deserve to win in the SEC. And that's what we saw.
Correct. First of all, it was frustrating because we start the game off offensively, we're on fire. We're moving the ball at will, right? We're getting first downs. We're picking up chunk yardage, explosive plays. But again, we kind of regressed to some of our past years' teams where we can't score in the red zone. In the beginning of the season,
that was your issue last year. That was a big thing last year on the show.
And it seemed like we had got it under control this year, but the last few games, just the inability to finish drives. And we talked about this on a preview episode. When you play a team like Georgia, especially this Georgia team, you have to kill them. Even if they're playing bad and you're playing well, you have to bury this team. And I thought we should have been up 3 scores at halftime. And I'm not saying 21-0, but at least maybe 17-0, 20-3, something like that. And I think if we would have been up by that score, we win the game. There's just no way that their offense was built to come back from that kind of deficit. Instead, you go into halftime down 6-3. Like, we're getting killed and we're only down 6-3. We got this thing. I'm sure they felt very confident going into halftime, despite their lack of yardage, despite their quarterback being injured on the last play of the first half, right?
Okay. Here's the problem. Let's talk about that quarterback situation for Georgia. To me, that was the worst case scenario for Texas. Maybe not the worst case scenario.
Agree.
Maybe not worst case might be a bit of a stretch, but it's not what you wanted to happen. Carson Beck was ineffective. Okay, this was an excuse, a great excuse for Kirby to be able to make a change at quarterback and create some energy. The crowd responded like it was a very subdued first half from a crowd standpoint. The second half, that largely Georgia crowd, we talked about it. It's in Atlanta.
Yeah.
They responded really, really well. Gunnar Stockton, what's the background on him? Do you have a background on Gunnar
he's a five-star guy out of Georgia.
Of course he is. He is.
Yeah.
And I thought, his ability to run the ball, make some plays, pick up some first downs. I mean, he didn't do anything amazing, but it just gave them the life that they needed and the juice that they needed to kind of get the momentum on their side. And I just knew as an Oklahoma fan that when I saw that backup quarterback come in, I'm like, ugh, this can't be good for Texas. But on the other hand, it was good as an Oklahoma fan, I guess.
Fair enough. But yeah, he didn't do anything, but he brought a little bit of mobility. It took us that one series. He came in and they went down the field and scored a touchdown. Right. And, we continued to battle. But here's the thing, man. Too many penalties, first of all. I thought the refs were bad, but we had too many penalties. We got to be better there. Turning the ball over, even though it didn't lead to points, it just takes points away from us, potential points away. And then I've told you this all season that I was very concerned about our special teams, that at some point in a big game, our special teams were going to kill us. There should be no surprise to Texas fans or if you've watched Texas, right? And I'm not just talking about field goal kicking, which we missed 2, Bert Auburn, an experienced kicker, missed 2 field goals.
In a dome.
Correct.
On turf with no conditions.
Correct. No conditions whatsoever. You missed 2 field goals. And, missing 2 field goals in a game like this, every point matters. When you see the way the defense is playing, both offenses were struggling to score.
Kevin, you went into overtime.
Correct.
Clearly it mattered, yeah.
So we missed 2 field goals. And then, their punter gets hurt. They have a backup punter and there was no alert for a fake there. First of all, great design and a well-designed fake, by the way. So I'm going to give them credit for that.
That's my biggest note here, though. Why are you not in punt safe? Why are you not in punt safe? Why do you have a return set up for?
Exactly. And again, it just, for those hardcore fans like me, it's not a surprise at all. Just because special teams has been like that. All aspects of it have been below par all season, which I don't understand because over the past few years, we've been really good in that aspect. We've been good at punt return. We've been good at blocking punts. You remember that last year in the rivalry shootout, blocked a punt for a touchdown, got us on the board. So I don't know what it is this year, but it's not surprising. And then our offensive line, right? Georgia is just clearly a really bad matchup for us because it's not like Sark didn't try to run the football. Weiser had 19 carries.
Yeah.
We just couldn't do it.
Yeah.
We could not run against them, and we had trouble protecting against them, against 6 sacks again against them. They're just a bad matchup for us.
And I didn't feel like Quinn. I feel like I'm being a Quinn apologist here, but those 6 sacks to me did not look like he was holding on the ball too long.
No,
it looked like
last game. This was not like, it was, similar to the last game, but not exactly like the last game, right? Last game, he got sacked 6 or 7 times, and I thought only 2 of them were on the offensive line. I thought it was him, no awareness in the pocket, holding the ball too long, not stepping up. This game, no, he was just there was nowhere to step up on a lot of these plays. So for the offensive line, just very disappointing, not being able to run the ball and not being able to truly pass protect, right? As far as Quinn goes, he was not the reason that we lost the game. I thought he did some really good things. He hit some throws. But the thing about him, and we've talked about this before, is when it came down to it, when everything was on the line, 2 opportunities, right? We get the ball back. They throw that interception late in the fourth quarter. First of all, we get the interception. Our nickel, Jalen Gilbo, is celebrating the interception when all he had to do was make one block on their tight end, and Jahdae Barron probably scores. The whole flow of the play was to the left, to the quarterback's left. Everybody was on that side of the field. He gets pressured, tries to throw it away, and it's intercepted. And they had one guy to make the tackle. If we block him, I think we score. Anyway, after that, we have a chance to go down and win the game. And we have multiple one-on-one throws that Quinn just missed. And the coverage was okay from Georgia, right? But, the throws aren't even giving our guys a chance. I didn't love some of the play calling down there by Sark, but the throws, same thing in overtime. We get the ball in overtime. We have a one-on-one slot fade to DeAndre Moore, and Quinn just misses them by 2 or 3 yards. In these moments, that's the thing with him. In these championship moments, we're going back to last year in the playoff game against Washington, right? There was a throw to be made, not an easy throw, but a throw that you expect a talented quarterback with experience to be able to make, and he was not able to make them. That's the issue with Quinn here. I'm not blaming him for the loss, but he didn't do what he could have done to elevate the team and win the game. A game that was completely winnable.
Okay, to me, the comparison is a Colt McCoy. If you go back in Texas lore, Colt McCoy wins that game for you.
Yes.
Colt McCoy wins that game. We know what Vince Young does. He's on a different level. But physical skills and everything that kind of, combined, Colt McCoy wins that game for you.
Correct.
At least that's in my opinion.
Yeah, one way or another. He gets the ball into the end zone before overtime. And if we go into overtime, he gets the ball in the end zone.
And that being said, the minute you kicked a field goal in overtime, it was over.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. You even see Sark's face. I don't know if you remember seeing Sark's face.
Yeah.
When it was third down and he brought the field goal unit, he just kind of turned and shook his head.
Yeah. What was it, 4th and what? How far they have to go?
On the overtime?
Yeah.
I think it was like 4th and 4 or something like that.
Dude, honestly, I almost wonder if you go for it. I mean, I know that's crazy. Crazy. But it's just kicking a field goal is literally like, just take it. Yeah. You got it. Right. Hey, there's a lot more to talk about with Texas and Georgia. Let's hit on some other games, the other championship games, and then we'll talk playoffs. Boise State gets into the playoff with a 21-7 win over UNLV. Ashton Genty, 32 carries, 209 yards, and a touchdown. He's now at 2,497 yards and 29 touchdowns.
Remarkable season.
Enough to get Travis Hunter?
No.
Okay, that's fine. Army beats Tulane 35-14. Was there an argument for Army at 11-1 conference championship and their only loss to Notre Dame? Did they have any argument? Should they be miffed at all?
If you talk about the strength of schedule thing, I think their strength of schedule is in the 100s.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
That's fair. And they got beat down by Notre Dame. It wasn't close.
No. Notre Dame's a very talented football team, man. We'll get into them here in a second.
I would have thought if they would have kind of kept that Notre Dame game close, made it look like a match, like a more even match, they could have probably made a case. But I think I tend to agree with you. I think Army and Navy both are what they are. Speaking of Navy, Oklahoma will play Navy in the Armed Forces Bowl, which I think is a terrible matchup for Oklahoma, even though they're favored. I don't even know how they're favored, honestly.
And good luck getting the team hyped up for this game, by the way.
Here's where I disagree with you a little bit. It should be a bunch of guys that are playing for playing time next year. It should be a bunch of guys that are trying to secure their spot in the starting lineup on the team to show out. It is in Fort Worth. It's probably outdoors though, right? It's not in Jerry's World.
Yeah, no, it's in Fort Worth. Yeah,
Oh, it's
I
gonna
think
be miserable.
it's probably at TCU Stadium.
Oh, that'll be bad. The weather's terrible this time of year in Dallas.
It is.
So anyway, whatever. We'll come back to that.
Really, okay, real quick. Army 101 in strength of schedule.
Yeah, so that's fine. That's fine. I just asked a question, but I think you're probably right.
Yeah.
Oregon, Penn State, 45-37 Oregon. I'm surprised that Penn State was able to score this many points. I think that's a positive sign for Penn State if you're looking for something. I never thought Penn State was going to win the game. I
had a chance to tie it there late in the fourth quarter.
Dylan Gabriel goes 22 of 32 for 283 yards and 4 touchdowns. My question to you, the only weird thing that popped out of this game is why did Penn State go for 2 when they made the score 30-38? They got within a touchdown and they went for 2.
I don't know. I think that's some weird analytical thing. I don't understand it either. I think you just go and make it a 7-point game. That way you're not forced to have to go for 2 to tie it late in the game. So I'm not sure why they did that either.
That seems like a very James Franklin thing to do.
Yeah. Yeah, it's some kind of weird analytical thing. I've seen teams do it before, and I'm like, what the heck are you doing?
Well, as much football as you watch, and even as much as I watch, but you watch considerably more. If you don't know why they're doing it, I'm not sure anybody knows why they're doing it.
Correct. Yeah, I don't get it.
Because even if we watch enough football, somebody would say the analytics say this because, right? Like,
yeah,
when we watch 4th and 3s, people going for it on 4th and 3. They say the analytics say to go because 49% of the time it works out. Whatever the number. But
I don't.
There's no analytics.
I have no answer for that one.
Whatever. Oregon's in. Penn State's in.
Real quick though, before we move on from that,
sure.
Oregon. I know it was just one game, but Penn State 297 yards rushing against Oregon's defense. 297 yards.
Well, that's what I said. I'm surprised that Penn State was able to put up the offensive fireworks they did.
Yeah, with 226 yards passing. Just something to file away there for the play.
Here is the thing, though. Here is the thing about Oregon that I think makes them the clear favorite, besides that they're undefeated and they're just really good, is they have a capable defense. So even though potentially they got exposed a little bit, they're able to bow up when they have to, number one. And number two, their offense is really good. It's a good mix. It's a really good complementary football. So yes, the defense lets them down, but the offense scores an easy 45 on them. Dylan Gabriel throws for 4 touchdowns, probably one of his best games of the season. On only
they can beat you in a lot of ways.
They can beat you in a lot of ways. Yeah. And defensively, with the game on the line, I kind of feel good about Dan Lanning calling that defense. So
and that was a really good interception there. I don't know if you saw that game-clinching interception.
Yeah.
I mean, that corner turned his head around late, quickly identified the football and made a play on it.
Yeah.
It was impressive.
Yeah, so I like where Oregon's at right now. All right. Let's talk about this game first, and we'll come back to the other game. Well, first of all, we both picked Louisiana. That was a disaster. Marshall wins 31-3. That doesn't matter. It just goes in our loss column.
Bad loss at home for Louisiana.
Bad. Yeah, 31-3. It's terrible.
And you're on your home field.
Arizona State beats Iowa State 45-19. I did not see that coming. The reality is I just haven't watched enough Arizona State, I guess, to appreciate who they are as a football team. You talked about Scatterbo you've talked about him for the last couple of weeks. That kid's a football player. Like, I don't know what else to say about him, but he's a football player. 16 carries, 170 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Iowa State, typically pretty stingy defensively. I don't know who they match up. Remind me who they match up against in the playoff. Did they get a bye?
They got a bye. Yeah, they got the 4 seed. They play the winner of Texas and Clemson.
That's right. Listen, dude. If you're Texas, well, first of all, you got to get past Clemson, which we're going to talk about that. But
yeah,
dude, Scatterbo's I don't know, man. That's a matchup nightmare. Their quarterback seems efficient enough. So that was interesting. All right, last game worth bringing up is Clemson SMU. This had playoff implications all over it. I am on record of being Clemson fatigued, Dabo fatigued. However, the fact that Clemson beats SMU and effectively knocks Alabama out, I'm not upset with. I'm not upset one single bit. The Bama fans, let's talk about this game, and then I'll go on a Bama rant. Klubnik, 24-41, 262 yards, 4 touchdowns. Kevin Jennings for SMU in the comeback bid, because they were down big, and they came back. I think they scored 17 points in the fourth quarter, 31 of 50, 304 yards, 3 touchdowns, and interception. And I think they had 154 yards rushing.
That they did, 154 yards rushing.
But then SMU gives up a huge kickoff return. Just kick it out of the end zone.
What a massive play.
Kick it out of bounds. And then they sets them up for the game-winning field goal, which they are able to hit.
We're watching that, and first of all, incredible comeback by SMU to be down 3 scores in the fourth quarter. They shut Clemson down offensively in the fourth quarter, and then they moved the ball up well, tie it up, and that kickoff. You could see it, man. Just a short kickoff. They missed a couple of tackles on the return, so they had a great field position. And we're talking to them. It's like, you only need one play here to get in field goal range, to run the kind of deep curl route, hit it. He breaks the tackle off that and gets a few more yards. And how about this kicker, a true freshman, outdoors, 54 yards? Are you serious?
Yeah, it's huge.
And just crushed it.
Yeah.
Crushed it. Yeah, great job by him. Our kicker's missing 2 40-yard field goals indoors. This true freshman, kicking 54 yards, might have even been 56 yards. Yeah, 56-yard field goals to win it with no time left outdoors in cold weather.
All right. That's the results from the weekend. What that led to in terms of our picks, Kevin, is you had ASU. That's a win. I had a loss. We both had Oregon win. We both had SMU. So that's a loss for each of us with Clemson. We both had Louisiana. Thanks a lot, Jacob Whitson. And then you had Georgia. It doesn't matter. Whoever we had. You had Texas. I had Georgia. It doesn't matter. It's a push. So your record on the year, 37, 38, and 1. Still not bad. You've lost money, but not a ton. I'm 35, 40, and 1. It's going to be tough makeup against you. Okay. Let's give a shout out to our sponsors. And then we'll get to the playoff. Brown O'Haver is been our sponsor from the beginning. They're public insurance adjusters working for you, not the insurance company. Call Brown O'Haver, 405-735-5510 if you've suffered a loss to your home or business. I was driving by 89th and Sooner the other day. The damage is still unbelievable. A lot of folks haven't got work done yet. If you suffered from tornado damage, call Brown O'Haver, 405-735-5510. Brown O'Haver typically gets clients 30 to 40% more money than they get on their own. Tornadoes suck. Fires suck. It's fire season right now. It sucks. Brown O'Haver tries to make it suck a little less. If you know somebody that's had a loss, give them our information at Brown O'Haver, 405-735-5510. Kevin, there was also some roof damage when I drove by. Maybe they didn't get hit by a tornado, but they got some roof damage. Who should they call?
Got to give your friends at Pioneer Roofing a call. They'll come out, give you a free inspection, let you know if you have any damage. If you do have any damage, they can help guide you through the claims process, get you a brand new roof, also do construction, siding, gutters, anything you need, they can take care of you. Pioneer Roofing, 405-549-2712.
Hey, Kevin, before we go on, I want to give a shout out to Casey's aunt, Stacy Anderson, Sooner alum, big time Sooner fan, from what you're telling me.
Big time, yeah. Out of anybody in Casey's family, they usually don't talk trash. She would talk trash. I get a text from her right after the rivalry shootout.
I love it.
You would win. And she's like, Boomer. I'm like, oh man, John doesn't even do this to me.
No, I don't. I know.
and we don't do this to each other, right? Right? We because we know what that feels like.
Her aunt didn't care.
She
Huh?
didn't care. No. She like
Listen.
So yeah, proud alum, OU medical professor for years. Yeah, she was a very proud student.
Rest in peace, Aunt Stacy. Rest in peace.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Let's talk about this playoff situation. Let's start with who got left out, and then we'll break down who got in. I think if anybody should be upset about being left out, it's South Carolina.
I agree.
Now, they lost Alabama, and they lost Ole Miss, and they lost LSU. So I don't know that they should have that big of a gripe.
Yeah.
However, I think they were playing the best ball. And they have a win against a playoff team, i.e., and a conference championship, i.e., Clemson.
Yes.
So I think they had the best argument to get in, especially once conference championship week was over. As far as Alabama goes, get over yourselves. You lost to Oklahoma 24-3.
Yeah. You can't lose to Vanderbilt and you get blown out by the Sooners. Blown out. The game was not close at all.
Thank you. Vanderbilt was 6-6. OU was 6-6. I'm sorry. And all this talk on Twitter and stuff about the non-conference, you didn't lose a non-conference game. You lost to Vanderbilt and a down Oklahoma team.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry. I just don't get over yourselves. Like, could you have backed into it? Yeah, maybe. Maybe if SMU beats Clemson and it comes down to South Carolina, Bama, and Bama has the head-to-head, okay.
Yeah, nobody's really upset about it.
Fine. But in this scenario, I don't care what SMU's strength of schedule is. You lost to two bad teams. So whatever your strength of schedule is, it's irrelevant to me. I don't really care.
Yeah, it's not like they lost to, Georgia and Tennessee.
No,
they did lose.
They did lose to Tennessee.
If those would have been their only two losses, that's one thing. But to lose to Vanderbilt and to this version of Oklahoma, you can't get in. I mean, that's just, and we knew this, and it was indefensible, and it still is.
Yeah, and so just get over it. SMU, their only loss is to a 9-2 BYU team, and a really good game. A 10-2 BYU team, and a really, really good Clemson. I said not a really good, but a really good game. Like, they were in the game. I think if the game would have ended 31-17, they might not have got in. But I think it was that last fourth quarter showed, man, this team, when they really want to pour it on.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, they've got something about them for sure.
They've got something about them, okay? And they're in a Power 4 conference, and get over yourself. Now, is there a flaw? Well, hell yes. It's college football. Of course there's a flaw.
To me, I see 12. I look at this bracket here we got up on the screen. I see 12 flaw teams.
Yes. Look, Kevin, we used to vote on the winner. Oklahoma has a national championship in either 50 or whatever, where we lost I think it's in 1950, where we lost our bowl game. That was what college football was. Up until 1996, the top two teams didn't even play each other.
No.
And only within the last 10 years were the top four teams playing each other.
Yeah, there were only back then, there were only certain years, right? It would kind of work out to where there would be a national championship game, right? Like you'd have an Orange Bowl with, the likes of Miami and OU. And just so happens that they happen to be number 1 and number 3 or something, number 1, number 2. But that was very few and far between.
So, yes, is there imperfections? Of course there is. Is there discrepancies with the schedule? Of course there is. Guess what, SEC? You wanted to expand. I'm happy I'm in the SEC. I know Texas fan is happy they're in the SEC. What comes with that is a tougher schedule. And we only play 8 games. And now people are like, well, this is a reason why we're never going to play 9 games. Stop. You lost to the 6-6 team on your schedule.
Correct.
Get over yourself, Alabama. This is not a good Alabama team. We are debating on 12-13. I'm sorry you're out. Suck it.
Yeah.
All right.
Miami's upset. They're right. They were the second team.
Don't lose to Syracuse. Don't lose to Syracuse.
Don't lose to Syracuse. Yeah. Don't lose to Syracuse. Simple.
Don't lose to Syracuse. You had a lead. Didn't Miami have a big lead against Syracuse?
They're up, I think, 21. They're up 21-0.
Don't blow a lead. Even more than don't lose to Syracuse. Don't blow a 21-0 lead to Syracuse. Come on, dude. Like, look, if Oklahoma was the first one out, I'd be complaining too, I'm sure.
Of course.
Absolutely. We all would.
Yeah.
And their fan base.
Don't lose to Georgia Tech if you're Miami.
They have a right to complain because they're fans. I also have a right to rebut you and say, don't lose to 2 6-6 teams. Don't lose to Syracuse. Don't lose 21-0 to Syracuse. Whatever. All right. Now let's talk about the teams that are in. So Joel Klatt, who I like and you like.
We love Joel. Yeah.
Is very upset about Oregon's draw. Have you seen this? Are you aware of his? Are you aware of his angst? Not. He is upset that Oregon gets the 1 seed and their reward is either playing Tennessee or Ohio State, while Boise State is the 3 seed and their reward is playing Penn State or SMU.
Yes. Well, we talked about this. Go ahead.
And he blames the format. He blames the format. I responded to him on Twitter, which I know he was looking forward to my response. Joel loves my responses on Twitter. My point is, these are human beings that put this together. They can do whatever they want. They're not tied to anything. Clearly, they can do whatever they want. They put SMU in. They can do whatever they want. Why would you, if it's possible, why would you want to have a rematch in the quarterfinals if it could be avoided? So very simply, Ohio State and Notre Dame should be switched. Or Ohio State and Iowa, or Indiana, because I don't think Oregon played Indiana, right? You could have switched either of those teams, and voila, it's done.
Yeah.
It's done. And then there's not an issue. Yes, Oregon having to play Ohio State, I agree, is an issue if Ohio State beats Tennessee. I agree that's an issue, that they shouldn't have to have a rematch against a really good team at this point. But just switch it around. It's not a format issue. It's a committee issue. The committee messed up.
I agree. Yeah, you would not. If you're the number 1 seed, you would figure there'd be some sort of reward for that besides the bye week. And yeah, now you get potentially just a very tough second round matchup. Very tough. Whereas someone like Texas or Penn State, if they take care of SMU, I think they'd like their chances against Boise State.
Yeah, I agree with Joel. But at the same time, Penn State only has 2 losses. They're having to play a pesky SMU team. Listen, here's the problem. There is not one game in this opening round. Is that what we're calling it? Are we calling it the opening round? The first round?
Yeah.
There's not one game on here that you can't make the case for any team winning.
Agreed.
Clemson could beat Texas.
Yes.
If Texas doesn't run the ball well and Clemson gets pressure on Quinn, Texas can lose just like they did to Georgia.
Yes.
On top of that, Texas should be counting their lucky stars that they're even in the playoff. And I'm dead serious about this. You didn't beat one good team. You don't have a ranked win.
Still number 21 in strength of schedule, though. But I hear what you're saying, though.
I find that to be fascinating, right? You beat a 6-6 Michigan team, or maybe they're 7-5 now, right? You beat a 7-5 Michigan team. You beat a 6-6 Oklahoma team, and you beat an 8-4 or 9-3 A&M team.
Yeah, I think 8-4.
8-4, right?
Uh-huh.
So, honestly, an argument could have been made for Texas to fall out. They weren't going to. I get that. That's not what I'm saying. But my point is, they can lose to Clemson. You did not want to have...
If Penn State was going to be in, I mean, if Indiana's going to be in, there's no way Texas cannot be in.
Agreed. I agree with that. I agree with that.
This
Well, even
Clemson game, though, is fascinating.
Even Tennessee's got 2 losses, but at least their 2
Yeah.
losses are to the right 2 teams. No, not really, because they lost to Arkansas, right?
Yeah, they lost to Arkansas.
Did they lose to Arkansas and Ole Miss? Is that what Tennessee lost to? Was Ole
Georgia.
Miss?
They lost to Georgia.
Yeah, see, that's okay. All right. Let's take a look at this. Let's start in the bottom right corner there. Just initial thoughts. We're going to have a whole preview, but let's just talk this through really quick.
Yeah, let's go through
it. SMU Penn State. SMU Penn State. I think it's a great matchup.
I think it's a great matchup too.
Yeah,
I'm curious to see how they handle the weather. You know, that's one thing that's never been a factor in these playoff games is weather. They're going to have to play in State College. It's going to be probably one of those whiteout games, raucous atmosphere with horrible weather. And how does SMU handle that?
3 out of the 4 games are likely to be in, if not just horrible, definitely cold weather conditions. 3 out of the 4 games.
Yes. Yeah, so that's what I'm curious to see. We know they can play. We know they can play with Penn State. No problem. I'm just curious how they handle that road environment with potentially horrible weather. Windy, it's up in those mountains up there. So how do they handle that? If they can handle that, then they can definitely win this game.
Moving up to Notre Dame, Indiana. Did Notre Dame deserve to have a bye?
Maybe you can make an argument for that, but you can't lose to Northern Illinois.
I agree.
That's why they're playing Indiana.
You beat an A&M team. You beat a ranked Army team. I don't know if Navy ended up being ranked or not. You beat a down SC team. Florida State was on their schedule, but nobody expected Florida State to be that bad. I don't think Notre Dame puts together weak schedules on purpose. I think
they put together what is typically a challenging schedule.
Yeah, like I don't hate Notre Dame's scheduling philosophy. I think they do a pretty good job of trying to. I mean, you don't expect Michigan to be that down. They play Michigan this year? Maybe they didn't. I don't know.
They did not play them this year, so they played A&M, Northern Illinois, which they lost. Purdue,
that's crazy.
Yeah, Miami of Ohio, Louisville, Stanford, which they're horrible now, but they've been good in the past.
But Louisville was ranked when they played them, right?
I think so. I think they were.
Yeah,
and then they beat Georgia Tech. And then Navy, Florida State, who's horrible, Virginia, Army, and then USC.
Yeah, it's not the best.
I think on ESPN, their FPI, their strength of schedule is pretty bad.
Yeah. Well,
pretty bad.
Purdue and Northern Illinois couldn't have helped their strength of schedule.
No, I mean, Purdue's one of the worst teams in the country.
Anybody that had Purdue on their schedule. Okay. Does Indiana have if you look, do you think this is the best chance for an upset here? Or do you think it's in another game?
It depends on the style of the game, right? Who can dictate the terms of how the game is played. If they can spread out Notre Dame and start hitting with their passing game, they have a chance. And if they can get after Riley Leonard and force a couple of turnovers, they absolutely have a chance. The problem is, can they handle Notre Dame's physicality when it comes to running the football?
Yeah.
And can they protect against Notre Dame? Because they struggled with that against Ohio State. They struggled in the trenches. And, the coach was pretty candid. I don't know if you watched on the selection show yesterday. Signetti he went into detail on how they did not handle the crowd noise well and how it messed up their communication. And then they switched to a silent count, and that just didn't work for them at all. So he said, I'll never do that again. So we'll see if they can handle the noise there at Notre Dame Stadium. I know it's an in-state rivalry, but, Notre Dame's they're going to have the majority of the fans there. So can they handle the crowd noise and the physicality? But right now, Notre Dame, I think, is at least a touchdown favorite in this game.
Ohio State, Tennessee. Listen, Tennessee to me is the most bipolar team in this bracket. Okay? And it happens within the same game. Within the same game, it happens where they can be completely unstoppable. Where you look at that talent level, you look at Nico, you look at Dylan Sampson, you look at Josh Heupel calling stuff up, and you're like, my God, who could ever stop Tennessee offensively? And then on the very next drive, they go 3 and out, and they go 3 and out for the next 4 drives. And you're like, well, which team are they? Are they unstoppable Tennessee, or are they 3 and out Tennessee? And if they're unstoppable Tennessee, they can beat Ohio State. I mean, their defense is good enough to hold Ohio State. But if they're 3 and out Tennessee, Ohio State wins this by 2 touchdowns. Like, I don't know what to think of this game because I don't know what to think of Tennessee as a team.
Yeah, especially their offense, right? They've been pretty consistent defensively this year, and they've ran it very well with Samson. But that passing game has been so inconsistent, right? And we know in that scheme, the offense is predicated off the success of them running the football. But we saw it even when they run it and they set up the play action. It just hasn't worked with the deep shots down the field consistently as you would like. And that's really what it's going to come down to is can Nico hit those shots? They're going to be there, right? They're going to have a couple of games, and you just got to hit on them.
Is Ohio State at full strength defensively?
Yes, I believe they are.
Yeah. Listen,
they've been really good this year.
And they're at home. We know they're a good team. They got some sort of bugaboo with Michigan that I don't think anybody can explain. It's clearly in their heads.
They look like Texas in the early 2000s against Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Because there's no reason you should be losing to this team, 4 years in a row. But they just got something that's completely in your head.
I agree for the first 3 losses. I still contend that this loss is inexplicable.
It really is.
This loss is inexplicable, dude. That's not a good Michigan team.
No, not at all. They have no quarterback, and they really didn't run it well either. It's not like they ran for 300 yards.
Oh my God! And Michigan turned it over too. It wasn't even like you could just go, "Oh, well, Ohio State turned it over." No, Michigan turned it over just as many times. It's so bad.
I hope for them they can bounce back. This has the potential to be a really fun football game. It's going to be a great atmosphere. 2 big-time brands. I mean, I'm really looking forward to watching this game.
All right. The University of Texas. Half of this podcast is exclusively dedicated to covering this team. So I am glad they're in the college football playoff because we get to talk about it with some relevance. I am not glad they're in the playoff because it is inevitably Texas. That being said, you play Clemson. Clemson is the worst team in this bracket, I think, even though they beat SMU. I think 10 times SMU beats them 6 or 7, right? So that's just kind of how I feel about it. I could be wrong, but regardless, the rankings there, they're the 16th ranked team in the country. They all would agree they backed into this. They backed into the ACC championship game. They backed into this playoff. That's the narrative. However, Dabo knows how to coach. And Dabo has been in these big games. And outside of Georgia, nobody in this bracket has as much playoff experience as Dabo and the staff for Clemson, right?
So I think Dabo actually might have more than Georgia when it comes to the college football playoff.
They have the same number of titles.
They've been going to playoffs since 2015. You guys know that. You played them that year.
Yeah. Where they beat us. So is this the worst possible matchup for Texas?
No, it is not.
Who would you okay, so your other options would have been hosting Tennessee, Indiana, or SMU.
Yeah.
Who would have been a worse option?
Tennessee, just because I think they're the more talented team, top to bottom, and with their defensive line. Now, here's the thing, right? You talked about the experience with Clemson, but these games are all about matchups, right? And I think we can both agree that Georgia is just not a good matchup for Texas, right? The few weaknesses that Texas has, I don't think anyone in the country can exploit them like Georgia can. I don't think anybody else can just completely erase Texas's running game and get pressure on the quarterback and be able to run the ball like they do against Texas. That's just my opinion. Clemson, for me, I like Klubnik. I like that he's a dual threat guy.
You
But
like
we
him
can
to the
get after
extent that
him.
you like him to the extent that anybody likes Club Nick.
Correct.
He has played
But
better the second half of the year.
he has. He has. But their offensive line is not Georgia's offensive line, and I think we can get pressure on him. Also, I think we can move the ball against them much better than we did against Georgia.
Can you run the ball against Clemson?
Yes, I think we can. And that's what I mean by moving. I mean, we got 365 yards passing against Georgia, right? But I think we can run it. And that's when we're at our best, right? The passing yards, whatever. I think we can run the ball to set up the pass against Clemson and kind of dominate the clock more than we could against Georgia.
On a neutral field, who wins, Clemson or A&M?
Oh man, probably A&M. I mean, I'm sorry, probably Clemson.
You think so? Okay. So
I think so.
So this is the second best team you're going to play all year.
Yes.
I don't know. I think it's fascinating. What's the line? Is there an early line on this game?
There is a line, and I think it's going to surprise you. Texas minus 10.5.
That's too much.
It's the biggest spread out of all 4 games.
That's too much. I don't like that.
I was expecting minus 6.
Here's the problem, dude. Texas has let me down. Okay, in terms of picks, they haven't let me down in terms of losing. Thank you, Texas. But they let me down in terms of picks. I really thought you were going to beat Georgia. I mean, Georgia struggles against Georgia Tech.
We had every reason to win that game, even in the game.
And so I don't know, man. It's something about what Sark has done against Georgia, something about the way Quinn's played. I don't love this matchup. Now, I think you could beat Clemson. I still think I'd probably pick Texas to win. If that line stays anywhere in that 10 and a half point area, I don't know, bro. I think I'm picking Clemson to cover.
Okay, fair enough. I can see that. And you know me, I don't care if they cover or not. Just win the football game and move on, because I like our matchup. I would like our matchup against Arizona State too.
Taking a look back then at the bracket one more time before we close this up. When you see the bracket there on the screen and you look at it, do you feel like Oregon got hosed? I'm going to go back to that. Do you feel like Oregon got hosed? Does Georgia definitely have the easier path to the finals?
Yeah, they have an easier path, but I think if Notre Dame handles them, I think Notre Dame can challenge Georgia. I think they play the type of football offensively that has given Georgia some trouble. They have a quarterback that can run. Right, we saw what Haynes King was able to do against them, and I think Riley Leonard could potentially do the same. So, but again, with Georgia, you got to bury Georgia.
I think if I'm Oregon, I really believe this. Outside of Ohio State, I think Oregon's favored against every team on that side of the bracket.
I think Oregon's favored against every team that's on the bracket, either side.
Yeah, I do think that the rematch of Ohio State is a little crappy, like we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
I think that's a little to make them have to potentially play Ohio State again this early. Ohio State should be on the other half of the bracket. Like I don't know what they were thinking.
Yeah.
Football fan doesn't even want to see this rematch yet.
Not yet, no. That should be a semifinal or a final.
Yeah, they should be on the other half of the bracket.
So let's just pick it real quick. Like this is not our official picks, but if you had to
just shoot from
right
the hip.
Yeah.
Ohio State beats Tennessee and Oregon beats Ohio State. They're in the finals.
Okay.
Texas beats Clemson. I think you beat ASU, but man, dude, they got a couple weeks to prepare, get right, neutral field. Where would that game be at?
Atlanta.
Huh.
And then the Oregon game will be in the Rose Bowl. It's going to be awesome, by the way.
Oh, that helps Oregon. See, that's the other.
But if it's Ohio State, though, they're going to show up. And Tennessee fans are going to show up, too. So, I mean, it's good for Oregon fan to have short travel. We have like a bit of a smaller fan base comparatively to the teams that you'll potentially be playing against. But the atmosphere in that stadium I mean, the Rose Bowl. There's no better aesthetically pleasing stadium in
Oh,
all of college football and all of sports, American
dude, it's
sports.
the best. It's the best bowl game venue of all of them. It's not even close. I love the Rose Bowl. All right, dude, Texas has let me down. And again, this pick is not official, right? Let's just say Texas
No.
wins. So it's Oregon, Texas, and I think Oregon beats Texas. Gets the
I would
final.
pick Oregon over Texas as well.
But I'm going to look really hard at that ASU game because I just think they're playing really good ball right now. And what I
They
saw
are
against
playing
Iowa State,
excellent football. They are playing excellent
jeez,
football. They're very confident. They're playing fast.
they
And like
they
you
you
said, the
can
quarterback was very efficient.
and you can agree they did not back into the playoff, or ASU did
No,
not back into the
no, they
playoff.
got a bye week. They got a bye. Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
All right.
they earned that. But I do like the talent differential, and I think we can handle them in the trenches.
All right. We both think Notre Dame beats Indiana, right?
Yes.
And then Georgia, Notre Dame. Where's
This is
that
a
game
very
at?
close game. I believe this game. Oh, let me check. I think it's in New Orleans, though.
I think Georgia wins, but man, I think I'm rooting for Notre Dame, which is a weird thing to say.
Yeah, it is weird to say. Let's
Oh
see.
hell,
Okay.
let's just put Notre Dame in the semifinals
Okay. So
for
yeah,
me.
that will be in New Orleans.
Again, the official picks will come later, but for fun's sake, let's say Notre Dame beats Georgia. I would
And
like
remember,
that.
we don't know the quarterback situation for Georgia right now either. So I can see picking Notre Dame to win this game too. All right, so
Um,
we'll go to the bottom. Are we both picking? Who are you picking? Penn State or SMU?
I think the conditions slow SMU down.
Me too.
I think it's Penn State, and
Yeah.
uh, I think Boise could beat Penn State though.
So do I. But
I
I
think
think I would pick Penn State today, personally. Who do you got? You would have Boise?
I take Boise. So that for me, it'd be Boise Notre Dame, and I think Notre Dame gets the finals. I think you'd have Oregon Notre Dame.
That game is going to be in Arizona, by the way.
The Boise, whoever
The
they play
Boise
game.
game and whoever they play will be in Glendale.
Yeah.
Okay, so then you have a potential semifinal. And if you say Notre Dame
I say Notre Dame, Boise.
and Boise.
I think Boise's getting disrespected.
Okay.
I really do. I mean, dude, Genty is killing it, and
Yeah, he's unbelievable.
their only losses to Oregon in what was a very good game.
Yes. One
I mean,
Boise could have won.
Boise had us questioning whether Oregon was at all good. Had they taken a step back? And
Yes. We didn't know if they were serious at all this year.
so, and then I think Notre Dame beats Boise. I like early pick. Oregon gets Notre Dame.
Oregon is Notre Dame. I like that. In that game, Ashton Genty versus Oregon, 25 carries for 192 yards, 7.7 yards a pop with 3 touchdowns against
Dude,
Oregon. Against the best team on your schedule.
Why are we thinking they couldn't do that against Penn State?
Yeah.
USC scored points against Penn State.
Yes. Obviously,
State
Oregon did. Yeah.
They don't have a lockdown defense.
No,
and you
they've
don't have
got
the
guys,
conditioning.
but yeah, they don't have. Yeah, but they're not a lockdown. And again, that's the thing. You can make legit arguments for every team in this bracket, and that's why I feel good about Texas.
And you could pick apart every team in this bracket.
Yes, that's why. Like, why can't Texas make a run in this thing? Every team is flawed. We know what Texas' flaws are. Clemson certainly has flaws. Their offensive line isn't great. Their secondary isn't great.
Can I tell you, though, I am confused about Texas because I don't know if I know what their flaws are because their flaws change from game to game.
What do you mean?
Because
our flaws are offensively.
Well, okay, that's fair. I was getting a little more micro than that. I thought they were going to run the ball against Georgia, and they flat out couldn't do it. They flat out couldn't do it.
Yeah.
And I thought for sure they were going to run the ball against them.
We have a Georgia problem. It's, it kind of reminds me of, do you remember when Kirby first got to Georgia? And they beat everybody else, and they could, yeah. And we have a Georgia problem. And we're going to have it until we beat them.
Yeah, you're probably right.
And we're going to play them next year, and they could just beat us again. And it's going to be one of those things we're going to have to finally get to the point to where we can beat them.
Kevin, I'm excited about this. This is what college football fans have been waiting for forever. So bring it on. I wish Oklahoma was a little closer to part of it. They're going to have a transfer portal and a whole season to get there. I'm excited though that college football has finally taken this step, and for the teams that got left out, be better. Just be better.
Yeah, yeah. And for me, it's just exciting to be in the playoff 2 years in a row, just after a decade plus, just wandering through the wilderness and not knowing when or if we were ever going to be good again. So I'm just happy to be there, man. Happy to be playing in that SEC championship game. It sucks to lose because it was such a tremendous opportunity to get to the mountaintop of this conference in year one, but hopefully it's just a kind of precursor of better things to come.
Your Dallas Cowboys take on the Bengals tonight. Is this must-watch TV for you, or have you completely given up on them?
No, I mean, if I'm watching it just for the entertainment value of watching the Bengals offense, which is always fun to watch with Joe Burrow and those receivers. But, I mean, as far as hoping the Cowboys win, whatever, man.
In an NBA Cup quarterfinal game,
I think so. At least it's a knockout stage. I don't know if we're at quarterfinal level or what.
The Oklahoma City Thunder take on the Dallas Mavericks, the team responsible for knocking them out of the playoffs last year. Luka healthy? Will we see full Luka?
I hope so, because it's always fun when they played earlier this season. He didn't play. We were there. He didn't play. So hopefully he does play. He's a fun player to watch. Frustrating for opposing fans, but
is Caruso back yet?
Yes, he played on Saturday against New Orleans.
How do you look? He look okay?
Yes, he looked very good.
So listen, Dill, if we can have Dort and Caruso and Case and Wallace, I think we have a really good chance of holding Luka in a one-game scenario. Don't you?
Oh, absolutely.
All right. Thunder.
Different supporting cast for Dallas too. They lost some guys off of last year's team that did some pretty good things for them in the playoffs. So we'll see.
I still contend the greatest travesty in all of sports. Bama, screw yourselves. I don't really care about you. And South Carolina, suck it. Whatever. I don't care. It's that Oklahoma City's not playing on Christmas Day. That is the biggest travesty.
I was really surprised by that when the schedule released. I thought this is the kind of team that you want to highlight on Christmas Day and let the whole country see.
They were the number one team in the West last year, Kevin.
I agree. Yeah.
They're the number one seed in the West. They've got a MVP candidate who, if the voting ended today, probably wins it.
Yeah, guy who was second last year.
I just don't understand how they don't make it on on Christmas Day. It's insane to me. You've got 9 games. You're picking 18 teams or whatever. They don't pick the top half of the league to play a game on Christmas Day. Now that's a travesty.
Instead, we get to watch the Lakers, who suck, against Golden State, Denver, and Phoenix. The Sixers, who are one of the worst teams in the NBA, going up against Boston. How about OKC at Boston? How fun would that have been?
Oh, are you kidding me? How about OKC against Golden State? That OKC Golden State game a couple weeks ago was fantastic.
Uh-huh.
And I bet Steph plays in that game. I don't know. The NBA, it's whatever. But the Thunder looking good. Go ahead and win that cup. I don't think winning the cup means anything, but it doesn't hurt. You don't want to lose games.
Yeah, it's just fun. It's a fun tournament. The players get up for it. It's going to be in Vegas, the semifinal and final game. So it's fun. It's just a fun deal for the fans to watch.
I'm going to leave you with this. We talk about sports movies all the time. That's something that we talk about on this show. We talked about my daughter being on a pretty bad basketball team. The coach is trying everything. The coaches, God bless them. I can't even imagine coaching middle school girls. They are throwing everything at the wall, seeing what sticks. So the latest was a homework assignment, Kevin.
Okay.
13-year-old girls, homework assignment. To watch Coach Carter.
Okay.
And to do an essay on Coach Carter. What did the boys have to go through? What was Coach Carter's philosophies? How could they use that to be a better team? Whatever. Dude, I love it. Right? Let's reach out. Let's try to find something. Have you watched Coach Carter in a while?
You know, it was on recently. I'll save it to the channel that I watched about 20 minutes of it.
Okay. Listen, for those that don't know, you should know. If you don't know, you should know. Samuel L. Jackson's the coach. Inner city school. Blah, blah, blah. Channing Tatum's the one white guy on the team. Watch it for that alone. Like, it's fantastic. Typical basketball story. Down and out team. Brings in a coach. Instills toughness and character. Grades are more important. Your lives are more important. But basketball is still the central deal. What I will say is, I'm not sure this coach realized the adult themes that existed in this movie.
Yes.
Do you remember the girlfriend in this movie, who, by the way, is a smoke show in the movie?
Is she the one that's pregnant?
The one that's pregnant.
Yeah.
Do you know who it is? Do you remember who it is?
Remind me. No, it's been a long time.
One name. She's a one-name actress. Aaliyah.
No. Not Aaliyah.
It was Aaliyah,
Ashanti.
right? Ashanti. You're right. I'm sorry. I apologize. Ashanti looked good. She was pregnant.
Yes.
Maybe she had a pregnant glow about her. I don't know. That I told my daughter, we're watching this. I'm like, oh my God, is this really happening? I mean, she has to make an unfortunate decision. I don't want to go into that. There's a lot there, though.
Yeah, not the most appropriate thing for her, but yeah.
You know what? I think this coach did my daughter a favor, because we had a heart-to-heart talk, and I said, I don't care what you take out of the film. The thought should be, don't get pregnant.
Yes.
There you go.
Always a great thought. Always a great thought for your 13-year-old
daughter. That's what the coach intended. I don't know if that's what the coach intended. I don't know if the coach was picking up on something on this team. Hopefully not for my daughter. But I hope the lesson that all the girls learned, and all the girls that listen to the Boomer Bevo podcast take away: do not get pregnant in high school. It sucks. Yes. So there you go. I don't know if that's what they took away, but I'll tell you what, it's what my daughter took away, because I drilled it into her, Kevin. I drilled it into her and said, do not get pregnant in high school. Thank you, Coach Carter. There you go.
Yes. Shout out to Coach Carter. Great movie, great story. Those kids are going through it, man. It's just crazy with the kind of things that young people have to deal with. That certain young people have to deal with. I mean, we're talking about 15, 16-year-old people.
Dude, gang violence. How about the gang violence, which was a big deal early?
Right.
The gang violence that was there, just getting your grades up. It's a true story. It's a true story. You have so
many other things going on in your life besides school. Like, school is not even, it's just one of 30 crazy things you have going on. You have to
people don't realize that when they're watching sports, even college sports and stuff. We don't think about it, because it's our escape. It's their life.
Yes,
but
correct.
Whatever. I appreciate the coach. I don't know if she realized all the themes, but that's okay. Sometimes girls gotta learn at some point.
Yeah,
eighth grade's as good as any other reason. Kevin. It's been a good show. Your Texas Longhorns are in the college football playoff. Oklahoma better be active in the portal. How long is the portal window open for?
I think it's a couple of weeks, I believe.
Oh my God. What a long road. What a long and torturous road. Oklahoma, wake up, get in the portal, get active. Kevin, have a great rest of your week. Boomer.
Hook 'em.